Introduction and central question. When people think of Jehovah's Witnesses, the common image is of them knocking on doors, handing out pamphlets, and talking about the end of the world. On the surface, they appear polite, smiling, and patient in sharing their faith. But behind that exterior lies a bigger question that few are willing to confront. Are Jehovah's Witnesses simply another religious church? Or do they actually function more like a high-control cult? To answer this, we need to look closely at three aspects: how the organization operates, the belief system it enforces, and how it treats both its members and outsiders. Only then can we see the true nature of this group. Core beliefs and exclusivity. Jehovah's Witnesses believe they are the one true religion in the world. According to their teachings, all other faiths, including other Christian denominations, belong to a corrupt world ruled by Satan and will be destroyed at Armageddon. Only those inside the organization have the chance of salvation. This belief is not just theological, it creates a constant sense of urgency, fear, and pressure on members. Leaving the organization means losing eternal life. Such absolute exclusivity fosters blind loyalty, making it extremely difficult for individuals to leave or even question the group. The conviction that only we are right builds a wall between Jehovah's Witnesses and the rest of society, turning them into a closed and isolated community, one that views itself as chosen while treating outsiders as enemies. Power structure and control. The Jehovah's Witnesses organization is governed by a small group known as the governing body, based in Warwick, New York. They claim to be the only channel through which God communicates with humanity today. Every interpretation of the Bible, every doctrine, and every rule comes directly from them and is considered absolute truth. This creates a system of centralized, unquestionable authority, where all decisions flow from the top down and cannot be challenged. Anyone who dares to question or disagree with the governing body is seen as rebellious and risks being expelled from the community. The control extends far beyond doctrine and into nearly every aspect of daily life. From education and career choices to personal relationships and even medical care, such as the absolute ban on blood transfusions. Members are closely monitored through a network of local elders who serve as spiritual enforcers. In this environment, Jehovah's Witnesses function as a high-control organization, where blind obedience is rewarded and independent thinking is actively suppressed. Punishment and isolation. One of the most powerful tools of control used by Jehovah's Witnesses is the policy of disfellowshipping and shunning. When a member breaks a rule, questions a doctrine, or simply decides to leave, they can be expelled from the organization. The consequences are devastating. Remaining members, including immediate family, are required to cut off all contact with the disfellowshipped person. Parents stop speaking to their children. Siblings sever ties, and friends disappear overnight. This isn't just a religious penalty. It is a form of psychological weaponry, making the cost of leaving unbearably high for most people. Those labeled as apostates face even harsher treatment. They are branded as mentally diseased, dangerous, and evil. They are not only shunned but also vilified, making life after leaving the organization extremely difficult. This system of punishment and isolation reveals the true purpose behind the policy: to bind members through fear of loss, rather than through genuine love or compassion. Control over personal life. Beyond regulating belief and behavior within the community, Jehovah's Witnesses also intrude deeply into the personal lives of their members. They impose a wide range of strict rules covering everything from clothing and entertainment to major decisions about marriage and education. For example, members are forbidden from celebrating birthdays, Christmas, or any other holiday deemed pagan. They are discouraged or outright prohibited from participating in sports, cultural, or artistic activities that could be seen as spiritually damaging. Even career choices are restricted. Many professions are considered inappropriate, preventing members from pursuing the paths they truly desire. Most troubling is the organization's control over health and medical decisions. Jehovah's Witnesses strictly forbid blood transfusions, regardless of emergencies or life-threatening circumstances. This policy has tragically cost many members, including children, their chance at survival. Such comprehensive control turns the life of each Jehovah's Witness into a rigid system of rules. Instead of being free to grow, explore, and decide for themselves, members are forced to conform to a model dictated by the organization, stripping them of their freedom of choice in even the most personal matters. Control of language and thought. One of the most subtle yet powerful methods Jehovah's Witnesses use to maintain authority is through control of language and thought. The organization has created a distinct vocabulary and way of speaking that gradually shapes how members think and interpret the world. Terms like the world, apostate, loyal organization, and everlasting life are repeated constantly, forming a closed linguistic system. When members are only allowed to speak and frame ideas using these terms, their ability to think independently is severely limited. Because language shapes perception. Furthermore, the organization enforces a strict binary mindset, either inside the organization and saved, or outside and destroyed. This black and white thinking suppresses doubt and discourages questions, since even entertaining a thought of skepticism is labeled as weak in faith or influenced by Satan. By controlling both language and thought, Jehovah's Witnesses extend their power beyond external behavior, reaching deep into the inner world of the individual's mind, making escape from this invisible yet powerful system extremely difficult. Abuse and cover-ups. One of the most disturbing and controversial issues within the Jehovah's Witnesses organization is the systematic problem of child sexual abuse and its cover-up. For years, many survivors have come forward, testifying that they were abused by members or even leaders within the organization. Instead of protecting the victims and reporting the crimes to law enforcement, the organization has often chosen to handle matters internally, under the pretext of keeping the congregation clean and protecting God's name from reproach. Their so-called two-witness rule, which requires at least 2 eyewitnesses to an act of wrongdoing, has allowed countless cases of abuse to go unpunished, since such crimes almost never occur in front of witnesses. This policy has silenced victims, and in many cases, enabled abusers to continue their actions without consequences. Investigations and lawsuits across multiple countries have revealed a pattern of institutional secrecy, where internal records of abuse cases were kept hidden rather than turned over to authorities. As a result, many survivors have endured long-term trauma, both physical and psychological, while perpetrators often faced no real accountability. This culture of concealment not only exposes a lack of transparency, but also highlights a disturbing reality. The organization prioritizes protecting its image and authority over protecting its most vulnerable members. Apocalyptic thinking and failed prophecies. One of the most striking features of Jehovah's Witnesses is their apocalyptic mindset, the belief that the current world is on the verge of destruction at Armageddon, and that only those loyal to the organization will survive. This belief is used as a powerful tool of control, instilling constant fear in members and compelling them to obey unquestioningly in hopes of being spared. However, throughout its history, the organization has made multiple failed predictions about the end of the world. From 1914 to 1925, 1975, and other dates, Jehovah's Witnesses confidently declared that Armageddon was imminent. When these prophecies failed, instead of admitting error, the organization often reinterpreted or redefined its claims to preserve members' faith. These repeated failures not only damaged the organization's credibility, but also caused serious psychological harm to many members who gave up careers, property, or educational opportunities in preparation for the end. Yet the fear, and the sense that time is running out, continues to be cultivated, keeping members firmly under control. Psychological and social consequences. Living within the Jehovah's Witnesses system leaves behind serious psychological and social scars. Constant fear of Armageddon, combined with strict rules, often creates chronic anxiety and an ongoing sense of guilt. Members are repeatedly reminded that even a small mistake could cost them God's favor and eternal life. The practice of shunning and disfellowshipping inflicts deep emotional wounds. Many who leave are completely cut off by family and friends, leading to feelings of loss, loneliness, and depression. This is especially devastating for those born and raised in the faith, whose entire social network exists within the organization. On a broader level, avoiding contact with outsiders leaves witnesses struggling to integrate into normal society. They often miss opportunities for higher education, career growth, and healthy social connections. Over time, this dependence on the organization doesn't just restrict personal freedom. It produces generations of people stunted in their thinking and unprepared to navigate life independently once they leave. Finances and organizational power. Although Jehovah's Witnesses don't pass around a collection plate at meetings, the organization runs on a massive financial system. Members are encouraged to donate regularly and generously, often reinforced through talks that emphasize the duty of giving back to God. The Watchtower organization controls a vast global portfolio of assets and real estate. Over the years, it has sold kingdom halls, consolidated congregations, and restructured properties, bringing in millions of dollars through real estate deals. However, these financial operations are far from transparent. Ordinary members are not allowed to vote on spending decisions or review detailed financial reports. All financial power is centralized in the hands of the governing body. This financial dominance, combined with a top-down power structure, allows the organization to maintain strong influence and silence criticism. In many cases, they have used legal systems, settlements, and non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, to keep victims and former members from speaking out. Ultimately, Jehovah's Witnesses operate not just as a religious community but also as a global corporation, where protecting wealth, reputation, and authority often takes priority over truth, accountability, and the well-being of their followers. Looking at the overall system of Jehovah's Witnesses, it becomes clear that this is not simply a religion. What they have built goes far beyond teaching faith. It is a mechanism of total control over thought, behavior, family ties, and personal life. They demand absolute loyalty, punish doubt, isolate those who leave, and maintain authority by exploiting fear and guilt. This does not nurture genuine faith or spiritual freedom, but instead creates dependency and submission. While many members are sincere and kind individuals, the structure of the organization itself suppresses compassion, curiosity, and freedom of thought. The problem is not the people, but the system. A system designed to preserve power regardless of the human cost. In the end, the real question isn't simply, is this a church or a cult? But rather, what does this system do to people? And the answer, seen through countless stories, consequences, and lasting wounds, is that it does not foster liberation, but instead imposes control and restriction. True faith does not need fear, punishment, or secrecy to survive. If something is true, it can withstand questions and the light of transparency. And if it cannot endure that scrutiny, then perhaps it was never worth following in the first place.